All right.
All right.
Welcome to Galactic Explorers with myself, Dallas, and the lovely and wild as always, Daniella. Welcome to the podcast where we're taking you on a joyride through earthly, spiritual, and everyday topics explored with galactic perspective. Today we're going to pull from our galactic bowl topics and see what the universe has us to explore. Daniella, you have the honor now. Would you like to pull from the magical cauldron?
Yes, indeed. We have our magical cauldron of questions here. For Halloween, as you can see, we are all we're getting in the spirit.
As I spill coffee on myself. Yay! Good one. Pick a good one.
What is going on? Good one. It is a viewer question. I have to put this in quotes. Does dark really exist, or is it simply a lack of light? Does dark really exist?
Does dark really exist?
Interesting topic.
It's really interesting.
There's a few definitions that we could kind of go into there and explore.
Yeah.
Just compare and contrast, where it's like, if you mean this kind of light, then it may not be the opposition to dark, and vice versa. So yeah, that'll be an interesting topic. Let's dig into it.
Yeah. Let's go.
Dark. Well, you know what they always say is you can't have light without the dark, and you can't have, the day without the night. And what does it say? It's like the day is always darkest before the dawn, and like all of those
right yin and yang
that they have about the duality of dark and light, and not being able to have one without the other.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So it's like, is there really this again? Does dark really exist? No. if you want my personal opinion. And we're done.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us here on Galactic Explorers. The answer was no, and we're getting out of here.
Bye.
I mean, if you wanted my opinion,
yes.
In the context of which I guess I'll explain, the answer for me would be no, in the sense that if indeed we all come from one unified source, energetically, if all of the energy field, source, like coalescence that has created our individuated souls and experience and all of this, everything, matter, everything, if there is indeed technically one singular source, then there's not light or dark. There's light and dark. It's unified. It's encompassed in one.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, in the sense of, is dark really real? Is there dark? In the grandest ultimate scheme of things, I would say no. I think that there are different, how do I say, perspectives on the opinion. And in that, what was that great quote? What is normal to the spider is chaos to the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of your background. But that's the thing, where it's like, what's normal to the spider? It's eating, it's catching, it's doing its thing.
Right.
Is chaos to the fly. Mm-hmm. So if you take it in context, is the spider dark? Not necessarily. It's just doing its thing.
It's thriving.
Right. But from the fly's perspective.
Right. Oh, sure.
Worst, like mortal enemy. So when it comes down, for me, again, so when it comes down to benevolent ETs, non-benevolent ETs, forces, and it's like archontic forces, AI, like all of this stuff that demons and Luciferians and Satanists and nonsense, baby eaters and weird shit.
They
exist.
Sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I should laugh.
I know. It's just it seems so ridiculous. Unfortunately, it's partially true. But it's like technically outside of the game of separation, which we are playing in the physical realm, darkness doesn't exist in that sense.
Right.
Because what is normal to the spider is chaos to the fly. So it's all based off of perspective. So if you are the spider, then it's not unnormal for you to be doing whatever evil, dark thing it is that you're doing.
Right.
And that doesn't excuse it from our perspective, but it's like it is a mind fuck. It's a little bit of a mind fuck for sure.
It is. And it's hard this is a good one because I'm trying to look up, actually I saw this meme or whatever yesterday and I'm sure you've seen it. It's where there's like this beautiful witchy lady and then she's got a demon next to her all tied up and
yeah.
sent me demons, but they didn't know the truth or the strength of my power, where you friend it, or I don't know, that came across yesterday for me and I was like, I've seen it before and I was like, it's so true of embracing that dark, right? Where not all demons, they're doing what they've been told to do.
They're doing what they've been taught and how they've been their whole society and it's weird, right?
And
this is one that I found too, which is a beautiful photo, but it says the awakened know there is nothing to fear.
Yeah, right.
So it's in the sense of, is there dark? Well, they're not. I mean, yeah, sure, but you don't have to fear it. It's not dark in that sense,
right? You
like
have
the things
to
that go bump in the night.
The thing that comes to me with this question is like our shadow self, of shadow work. I know that's something that I've and you have really gotten into, and to really kind of embrace that side of the darkness that we have kind of suppressed, to let it come back up again, and not in a way where maybe to others might seem pretty darkish and satanic or whatever the thoughts of the muggle world is,
right?
But at the same time, when you look at it and embracing that darkness, to not fear it, to be equal with it, to what do I want to say, to really, I guess, in a sense of an energetic healing mentality of healing those wounds, right? Healing that storyline, that freeing them, right? And we're freeing ourselves at the same time we do that. And then I think the light of it is shining a light on the situation, of embracing it, of right, because it's total yin and yang energy. It's, you got to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that to balance. It's all about balance, right? You can't have the scale like this or this way. It's
you can't have either wild extreme. You have to like integrate.
Yeah, you have to. And that doesn't mean you get into devil worshiping or talking to demons or going, it's okay to kill or something like that. It's not what I'm saying.
You're not trying to give people an excuse to go to the extremes, so don't take that out of what we're saying.
Right.
Saying that the extremes exist, but it's not the focus of the journey.
Right. It's seeing that fear and telling it, I don't have to be scared of you. Right? Like, yesterday I talked with my daughter about COVID because of going to school and being in this situation now. I noticed she's on tech more and getting out of this reality because she doesn't want to be here in this reality that we're all going in. So I had to be, to a 10-year-old, I'm telling her, this reality is scary, but we can't fear it. We can't let it consume us, because then we turn our attention away and we let this other thing consume us when we don't deal with really what's happening and embracing it. Like I go to work every day and I got to deal with all the things, but I'm not going to let it scare me. Right. I'm not going to let it fear me and take over me and panic and wash my hands or get away, right. or, go into that panic mode or fear that I'm going to bring it home to my family. I'm not even in that scope.
Right.
We
could even get into a whole conversation about fear, like darkness and fear, and especially during this time period, where like COVID's like dying off, but it's still a thing, and they're still trying to really hard fearmonger. At least at the time of the recording that we're doing this, they're still really trying to hard fearmonger everybody into masks and things and stuff. When Frank and I went back to California not too long ago now, one of his sister's sons refused to leave their house to come visit us, even though Frank is like his favorite and only uncle. Like Frank, by the way, is everybody's favorite in the family. End of story. Frank is the favorite, period. But he's an awesome person and completely humble and doesn't even like that kind of attention, but it's probably why he's a favorite. But the fact that this, let's say 14, 15-year-old young man was so afraid, had been so fear-mongered and so programmed into taking that fear on into themselves that they would not leave the house to go see one of their favorite people on the face of the planet. What the flying fudgesicles. That is dark. If you want to ask me if dark exists and that is what is dark, that is darkness. Yeah. The fear mongering. It's like actually having that influence level over the psyche of humanity.
Yeah. And that's what I pointed out to my daughter too, of everything on the news they're saying and they're showing you these pictures is because they're trying to scare you. They're putting you in that fear state. And I'm like, and that's why we don't watch it. But I can't help when they have commercials and they have people crying and talking about doctors and this and this.
Oh my God, I know.
And this is on my Cartoon Network, by the way.
Oh, so, I bet. That's full programming. Like, yeah.
We don't have a choice, but it's freaking there. And I take that back. I do have a choice. We can turn the TV off, and
yeah. I do that too.
But it's at the same time, it's like I don't want to like hide that fact from my kids too. And I'll point it out, you guys, this is over the top.
Right.
It's over the top, or they don't even really pay attention half the time, but sometimes they do, and they take that in. And obviously she's been taking it in.
Right.
And she was in tears, and I'm scared of my friends getting sick. I'm afraid of I'm going to get, and I'm like, fuck. Like,
yep. So if you want to talk about darkness, is dark, like, what is it?
Right. And then you get that story in your head and you build up, and then those fears, and how to go.
Right.
It's okay. Like,
what was that famous JFK? Was it JFK? God, please somebody correct me if I got that wrong. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I think it's
The only thing there is to fear is fear itself.
Yeah.
That. And I wouldn't say it's darkness in the sense of that it's its own, as in that darkness has its own consciousness, its own agenda, its own awareness as a whole, as a consciousness collective. I don't think that darkness and light have their necessarily own consciousness collectives in and unto themselves. I think that it's a perspective.
Yes. Yeah.
Because and we could take this into politics, which I don't really want to because but it's like, but this can be kind of, I should say, just put across so many different things that we experience. is that it's about the choices you make in the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
So dark in the 3D physical world exists as things like fear. But I think in ultimate grand scheme of things, as in soul level, universal, galactic scheme of things, where we're all going back to, it doesn't exist outside of separation. Like you can't have you can't have the duality of light and dark separate without the whole programming of separation. The idea that we are separate from one another, the idea that we are separate from source. Separation. It's like when we forget that there's only one of us here, like this cup, also part of me. This phone, also part of me. And you are too. All the shit on your wall, everything over here, everything behind me, all of you guys out here and the viewers, you're all part of me, and I am all part of you. There is only one of us here. So technically there is no darkness. If you take it from that perspective.
Yeah. No,
which again is where that meme was going, right? Which is where that meme was going, where it's like the awakened know that there is nothing to fear because there is only one of us here. So why are we fearing ourselves?
Right. Because, yeah.
Right.
Because we are in some way putting that fear out there to evolve.
In a sense, yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah,
the whole idea of separation, was for an experience sake. Was just to experience it. It's like one of my favorite quotes ever, and it's like, what was the question? It's like, why do you think people came down to this planet? It's like, why do souls even bother to incarnate? And then the question, or the person that answered the question said, well, how in the hell or else are we supposed to know what chocolate tastes like? Right? Mic drop. I was like, oh my God, it explains so much. But it's, it's one of those things where, we've on a consciousness level, knowing that soul and consciousness are the same. It's like if we've on a consciousness soul level decided to come and incarnate physically into an energetic dimensional reality that is physical, we have agreed to enter into a level of separation that would make us forget that we are indeed unified.
Yeah.
That is all darkness is, in my opinion. You're talking about Draco, you're talking about all these things, AI, all this stuff. Okay, sure. In the physical world, yes, it exists. Is it something that we're dealing with? Sure. But is there like an ultimate light and dark? I don't think so.
Right.
Because it's all one.
Yeah. No, I don't believe there's a separation of that either.
I don't think there's ultimate opposing forces at the end of any of this.
No.
I think the whole game of light and dark and good versus evil and all of that is part of the separation game.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Experience.
So that's like, okay, this time I'm going to go play the bad guy. Okay, cool. Now I get to have that experience and get my ass beat or not get my ass beat. Or,
right.
It's like,
and
the next time,
free will.
Right. And the next time, okay, cool. We're going to switch roles. I'm going to play the hero this time. You're going to be the bad guy. Awesome. I'm going to beat your ass. And then going to get that experience. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that the light and dark thing is ultimately stemmed just from the whole idea of separation for experience sake, so that you get the opportunity as a soul, as a consciousness, as a frequency, thought form to experience this type of scenario in reality.
Well, there you go.
So like all of this, dark morbid stuff, I mean, technically there is darkness in the physical world. I mean, don't get me wrong. Satanists, Luciferians, baby eaters, like all those crazy people, like the pederasses, the what are they, the chomos. That's the new word, by the way. Well, it's not super new, but it's like the Cult of the Curious, I think, or somebody in like Cult of the Curious, which is Dan Cummins' little group. I shouldn't say little, but Dan Cummins' group, Chomo is child molester. So BT dubs.
Ew.
That's the short for that. So pederass and chomos. Darkness. Yeah, that exists in our world, and because, well, there were choices made in a level of separation that most people that are on the dark side don't actually understand. That's why they're still on the dark side.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know. But we've done a lot of past life regressions. But yeah, so that stuff does exist in the physical world, but ultimately on a soul level, I want to say it's a moot point, but there's nothing to fear. Your soul is not going anywhere. Your soul is not going to be destroyed. It's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Even if you had the worst fucking experience on the face of the planet in this lifetime, you're still not going to, you're not
So
going to be destroyed. Or
the only thing that comes to mind in my head, and I feel like I have to keep saying it, I'm going to say it,
Sure.
is especially with that really icky darkness, and this is going to take it to a whole other level, maybe.
We like other levels.
Contracts.
What about the contracts?
Contracts. Like,
just at all.
Before we come here.
Oh, God, yeah.
There's contracts and people. And for me, when I learned that through my family line of all the shit that I went through and my stuff, that it was supposed to happen. And I
know.
That's like, I can feel it right now. But that's what we here to up our game.
Basically, yeah. We came here to up our game.
In a really icky way of saying it, we're upping our game. We're upping our game. And that is really hard to take in, especially when you are still awakening or still opening, and we see how could someone say that a contract, someone wanted to come and be molested as a child,
right?
Or
that's going to be very controversial to say, but
if you pull that out and you look at it in that non-judgmental light dark way,
non 3D,
it's hard to say. And no, I don't think anybody deserves it, but I see it on that level,
right? Because it's like, where was the opportunity there for that soul to gain a certain type of experience so that it could make certain types of choices?
Right.
That according to what we've experienced and believe, and what has been shared with us and all of this type of information, leads us to believe that 90+% of what happens to us in our lifetime, to some degree, was contracted. Who we meet,
exactly.
Who we meet, how we interact with them, what our interactions is like. Who's going to be your husband? Who's going to be your second husband if you got one? Who's going to be your kids? Who your parents are? Who your friends are going to be? Who your enemies are going to end up being? Who's going to betray you and stab you in the back? All 90% of this has already been planned out and agreed to by all parties.
Right. Everybody,
all
even
parties.
that individual, agreed to it.
Right.
And it's just our free choice of how the play rolls out on this on this playing field that we're in. This giant
the more conscious
that we're in.
Yeah, you're right. And the more conscious I feel we get about the fact that that is true,
the
more power we have to make more informed decisions about the environment and the experiences that we go through. So even if you're not consciously aware of every single thing that your contract says about what you're supposed to be doing in the future, as it rolls out, if you understand that some of this, good chunk of it, 90+% of this bad shit that ends up happening to you, bad relationships, this, that, car accidents, all of this stuff, 90+% of it was agreed to and planned for in some manner, so that you would have the opportunity to make another decision, another choice from another perspective.
Yep. And from there, you move on. From there, you can help other people.
Right. So that is the darkness versus the light.
Yeah.
Darkness is staying in the fear of the physical and not moving forward. And I think the light would represent moving forward and taking those experiences and making an informed, conscious decision about how you want to continue or not continue your life as is from that moment forward.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you're being presented with an opportunity. So like you said, even the people that as fucking controversial as this is, and I know it's like, it almost makes me feel nasty to say, because the people that have had to deal with molestation on any level, they're like, well, what possibly good could have come out of that? Self-esteem, self-confidence, self-forgiveness.
Forgiving others.
Forgiveness of others. Forgiveness of the other self. Because technically, as fucked up as this is, that other person is you. Super fucked up. I know. Super. And I don't mean to laugh, because yes, it is a mind fuck to try and wrap your head around how every single thing is so intertwined and webbed and connected. It's just, it will make your head hurt. But there's an opportunity for those people who have had that experience to make a different decision about who they are, who they feel they are, what they feel they're worth.
Yeah.
What they feel they deserve in life. How they feel they deserve to be treated. Or heard.
Believed, non-judgment.
All of that.
To stand up to what that experience was and to rise above that, it's saying it, it's having to acknowledge to it as well.
To find it within yourself to move forward and forgive. And all of, so it's like, those could be examples of where, like, what potentially your soul was looking to get out of that experience by putting it in the plan.
Right.
Because here's the idea, and I've heard this come across a couple times, and it's like, I don't know how we do this, but we're already freaking running out of time. We do this every week now, but that's, I mean, I guess it's a good thing. But dang, so ridiculous. But there was that. Oh man, now it's like slipping from my brain. Come back to me now. Hold on. Okay, I remembered. Is that there was this explanation that essentially our consciousnesses are preparing to come into incarnation, and we're almost like having this business plan meeting, right? Where you go down, where you go, okay. So, and I've explained this, like I've taken the explanation further, the metaphor, and it's like this. If you've ever played D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, at the beginning of all the games, I know you're gonna laugh. I know at the beginning of all the games, you have a character sheet. Your character sheet, and so like generally you roll for all of your character stats. So that could be charisma, physicality, how cunning you are, how well you do linguistically, how well you block, how well you do ranged attack, spell work, blah, 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 so on and so on and so on. Well, all of these things have a numerical value from none to the top of the die. And the higher you are in it, the more competent and accomplished you are at it. So the easier all of those tasks and points, along the adventure become for you. So with that being said, as you're, hanging out up there in the ether, preparing to become incarnate, you're looking back on your previous lifetimes and you're going, okay, so I've got this, I did this. Okay, so from here, I was able to add, a couple more points to this stat. Like I got better at doing this, I got better at doing that. I lost a couple of points here because I didn't handle that well. Okay, maybe we can revisit that. And like you do this self-assessment. When you come in, you've set up experiences that will boost your character stats, essentially.
Yep.
I'm going to break it down into that kind of explanation. This is what has happened, is that you have chosen experiences that will up your character stats. Now, for instance, say you're at a stat of forgiveness of others, a level 2. That's pretty freaking low. All your other stats are kind of high, but you really just can't let shit go. You know, you have a tendency to hold a grudge or, you know, whatever. Well, your soul goes, I think I'd like to experience not that. You know, in short terms. It's like, I think I'd like to experience a higher level of other forgiveness so I can move on and experience these other things that go along with it. Well, what is your soul going to do? It's like, okay, so when she's approximately on the timeline between 25 and 40, she's going to get into a really bad car accident, hit by a drunk driver, paraplegic. So to the conscious mind, living in the physical body, it's gone, what the fuck? Why did this happen? How could God let this happen?
God didn't let that happen.
God didn't let that happen. That was you going, I want to boost my stats, and I'm going to give myself, because guess what? You have an opportunity there to forgive that other person and move forward with your life, because there are plenty of people that, with the right motivation and the right headspace, they can accomplish whatever they want, paraplegic or not.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So an instance like that, we're so kind of touching again on the chomo thing, and that, you know, like all of this other stuff.
Right.
As hard as it is to hear, and we know it's hard, we still don't like hearing some of the stuff that we signed up for. I want to see the fine print on that bitch. It's that we've set up experiences so that we can boost our experience level in being able to utilize all of these tools in our interactions as a consciousness.
Yeah.
So does dark really exist? Only as an opportunity for a different perspective or way of looking at things or experience. It's all part of the experience, because in the totality, there is no black and white. It isn't one or the other. So simply, I would say, like, in our realm, in the 3D, 4D realm, that's where darkness exists. But it is a part of the role of separation, a part of the play, literally the theater play that's going on, that was created by oneness to experience whatever and everything. If you want my unbiased opinion on it.
Yep. I have nothing else to say. Because it's right. It's totally right. I can speak from personal experience that if I didn't listen to all of the messages and the people, I wouldn't be here today.
Right?
I wouldn't.
Oh my God, yeah. If I hadn't gotten railroaded by all the people I've been railroaded by, stabbed in the back, thrown under the bus, if none of that wouldn't have happened, I would not have the fire and the drive to be like, you know what? Let's stand back up again, because that was bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's taught me to be where I am now. Yeah. It's really, it's taught me a lot of, I don't have to live in that story.
No.
Of my experience, of my life, of my childhood, of everything in my past got me to where I am. I don't have to stay there. I don't have to be that person they told me I had to be, or the experience, and none of that.
Right.
I mean, I am in a sense, but at the same time, I chose to not stay there. I chose to rise above it. I chose differently. I chose to walk a different line instead of stay on that icky, mudded.
I was going to say, as supposedly difficult and uncomfortable as it was to make a different decision.
It's very difficult. I'm still going through it.
Right.
And it's always like, it's a growing process.
Absolutely.
And it's always going to, you know, now I'm dealing with my children. So now I have to go on a different level of not going downwards, but going more upwards and trying to show a light of the darkness, and not that we don't have to be in fear of it. Instead of living in it,
right,
you can embrace
letting it consume you,
right,
and run your life.
Yeah.
Which for so many people in, like, you know, like you say, the Muggle world, it does, because unfortunately, God bless them, they don't know any better, which seems kind of silly. It's like, how could all, you know, like 6.5 million full-grown adults, I mean billion, excuse me, 6.5 billion full-grown adults not know? Well, when you're raised in a cage from birth, you don't know you're in prison.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say about that, because that really taps in a lot to what last week's episode was. And if you haven't caught last week's episode, the Think For Yourself PSA, we do highly recommend you go back and listen to it, because there is a lot of insane information and perspectives, especially with the now upcoming election. We want y'all to think for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't even like listen to us entirely, but take the information that's presented and go and research it yourself. And the same thing with this topic too. Is like, does dark really exist? Think about it in your own life. Think about it in the grand perspective. I mean, we're dealing with something right now that would be considered dark.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, does it actually exist? Should we be afraid of it? But do we still want to change it? Wanting to change something doesn't mean you have to be afraid of it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. So go back and check that out. I'm not gonna like drop too many spoilers for those of you who hadn't seen it. So please go back and watch that. Because yeah, this topic really kind of does tie into that one really quite well. Interestingly enough, how that works out.
It does. Yeah. A lot of darkness in there. We got.
Oh God, I'm gonna start it. We're not gonna go back there. We're not gonna go back. We already we took a deuce on the desk last week and we left it there. We're gonna leave it there. We rolled up. We took a deuce on somebody's desk. We got swifty and we left.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so I guess that is us for the topic of, does dark really exist? Yeah, it's a very, very deep topic, and there's definitely some interesting perspective on it. And if we were able to open up your perspective on it, we'd love to hear about it below. If you've got something to add or anything, drop it in the comments below. Comments, questions for further future topics. I can talk. Drop it all in the comments below. We love hearing from you guys. Like, subscribe. Thank you to everybody who has liked and subscribed so far. We appreciate the living crap out of you. Sounds weird. But really, we do. And, you know, getting this out there is the, you know, like number one point of this. So the more that you can share and subscribe and help us get the word out and share it with people so that we can create this world that we actually want to live in, instead of our being guided down. Check out last week's video. Yeah, we got to get the word out. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for hanging out. We appreciate you. We love you.